This offseason we've done better never rests.
Counting colors in the sky. What a thrilling time to be alive.
What is up, everybody? Happy to be back on the Georgia Show. A little layoff there, had a little vacation, but I'm back. I'm here with my man, Rusty Mansell. We're coming off another huge official visit weekend. We're going to talk about Elijah Griffin being back in Athens. We're going to talk about the flying month of June. Seems like it started yesterday, and we're almost to that final weekend of official visits. And Rusty, I realized something when I was on vacation about the conversation around Georgia this offseason. It just kind of hit home, and something I wanted to talk about. So we'll get to all of that. But, Rusty, let's first talk about Elijah Griffin being back in Athens. Chad Simmons had a story over at DawgsHQ. If you're not a member, you need to go check it out. I'm going to put this up for you at the bottom. Promo code. Use UGA1 and get 2 months for $1. That is up there at the bottom. So you guys check that out. Check us out on YouTube if you're listening to us on the podcast. But Elijah Griffin, man, how valuable is it to get a guy on campus for an unofficial visit with an official visit similarity to it with a multi-day type deal?
Kind of like, you're trying to go out with your really good looking girl and you get a date, but you got prom left. So you take that value. That's the best way to describe that. You got a big date left when you got no V with an elite prospect like that. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
You get an elite prospect like that on campus for an unofficial. He's been there so many times. And I don't know. Am I having problems sound? This is DawgCast. DGG says he can't hear. I don't know. We're having all kind of issues. Okay,
yeah,
good. Okay. Anyway, you get Elijah Griffin back, and 5-star prospect like that on campus so many times out of Savannah, big time target. Didn't bring his mom, didn't bring anybody. He brought his uncle with him this time. First time his uncle has been on campus. So, all of his family members. I think he's brought his grandmother a time before. So, it's good to get multiple family members there to see that place. And, it's definitely going to be a family decision for him. So don't think it hurts to have another family member see Georgia, meet Kirby Smart, see Trey Scott, sit down and look at the plan that they have for him should he come to Georgia, and just a major target.
One thing that he told Chad Simmons, and I'll share this because I remember it happened with Joseph Jonah Ajanye last year. He talked about how him and Trey Scott sat down, they went through film, and they talked about him as the player right now. They didn't talk about the player you're going to be and all that stuff. They talked about him and kind of, where he was 2 years ago, where he was last year, and that type of thing. And I remember talking to Joseph Jonah Ajanye, and he was like, man, the biggest thing that stood out to me is I feel like I got better as a football player talking with Trey Scott and breaking down my film. That's such a key element there, and something that Trey Scott seems to be kind of hitting on there. Obviously, Georgia's in good shape with Elijah Griffin. I'm not saying they're absolutely going to get him, but if I had to pick today, I would pick Georgia. It seems like Trey Scott's got a little something there that it kind of works for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's no kind of BS around it with Coach Scott. This is what you're going to get. This is what I do. He's not a huge social media guy. He's a coach football D-line coach, and this is what he's looking for. This is how he sees you fit, and works with a lot of players. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes he's not going to kiss butt and text you 5 days a week and those types of things. He's going to tell you, if you want to come here and get developed, here's our history. Here's our first rounders. This is what we've done. This place isn't for everyone, and Georgia is not for everyone. But if you've got that quote unquote kind of dog in you and you want to play for Trey Scott, he'll find a place for you. Elijah Griffin he's a big target. I mean, we can dance around it. He is, I don't know if there's a bigger target in this class. There's about 4 or 5 that you say they really can't afford to miss, but it didn't go much further than Elijah Griffin. He is an elite in-state defensive line prospect.
Rusty, I found this. Sorry, I clicked the wrong one there. What past recruits would you compare Griffin to? Is there anybody that kind of you draw a comparison to there as far as a player? Man, I've had a hard time with it myself.
I really don't like. People that follow me, I just don't do the comparison thing because it sets a standard, and you think, well, oh, there's a ceiling there, or he's either got to be Jalen Carter or he's a 5th rounder. I really don't get into the comparison thing. I just think that Elijah Griffin is elite. There's only so many of these per class. He's a disruptor. He's a pass rusher. He's athletic. He's quick as hell off the ball, man. And, I'll say this. If Elijah Griffin, wherever he ends up, is not a high level NFL draft pick, then the path has went wrong for him, or, if something happened injury wise or something like that. I've been doing this long enough to know as you look at kids and you go, this guy's different. I said I wouldn't do it. Kind of because of how quick he is off the ball. He gives you a little Derek Brown vibe, kind of the same frame.
I like that.
Kind of the same frame. And look, man, Derek Brown's one of the best players in the NFL. He's got a $300 billion contract. I don't want to put that on a high school kid. That's why I don't like to do those comparisons. But if you want to say the first time I saw Derek Brown as a junior was at the Rising Senior Junior All-Star game. That quick twitch off the ball, how quick he is, how strong he is, how heavy his hands are. That kind of gives me that vibe. You know what I mean? He's got some nastiness to it. Derek Brown has some nastiness to him. Still does in NFL. So I love you guys. I won't do it much, but I'll give you a comparison there just because that's kind of how I think of him. And that's the reason why he's considered a top 5 player in the country, no matter what industry ranking you're looking at.
Yeah, Derek Brown, I feel like was I like that comparison a lot. Honestly, it's kind of like, and again, I'm not saying he's going to get there, just like you're not saying that either, but it's almost like if you made a spectrum that had Derek Brown on one end and Michael Williams on the other, he's like almost kind of in the middle of that, because he's not Derek carried so much weight as a junior in high school and as a senior in high school. I mean, he was well above 300 pounds during those times and still played with a really high motor. Michael was kind of around that 265, 270. And it's like Elijah Griffin kind of has some of the good qualities of both of those guys. And I'm with you. I think something's weird has happened, or just, something has, like you said, the path's gone wrong somewhere if this guy's not a high NFL draft pick one day, because he is an extremely good football player. And I love the fact that he kind of fits maybe a couple different roles for you, may grow into a 3 technique. And kind of be that, inside the tackle guy, may be able to bump out and play some 5 technique for you. We definitely know 3 technique, 4 eye, that kind of thing. But he's a versatile guy in that regard, really good athlete.
Yeah, I think he played 3 or 5 when he gets there. Georgia tries to bump it up a little bit. And by the way, if you don't have the On3 app, because I just got not a Georgia alert, but you get an SEC commit alert. If you don't have the On3 app in the Apple Store, grab that wherever you get your apps at, because it is absolutely fantastic. Jake, you missed these guys are kind of laugh. We're sitting here. We go on last Sunday night, first day of your vacation, and I get a text about 7:55, and it's Christian Garrett about to commit to Georgia. I'm like, oh. I didn't really know, is he committing right now, or we go live? I send a text, and he goes, I'm about to commit in 8 minutes. Or 10 minutes. I was like, oh boy. So we're live when Christian Garrett commits, first time we've seen it. You go back and watch that. It was a pretty wild one there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's I think Jaden Rashada, while you and I were kind of on a work deal up with some other publishers, I think Jaden Rashada popped right during a show I think Palmer and Roos had one going too. So I've been able to dodge those kind of craziness. So that's kind of funny. I did want to answer this question from Jordan Harris, because it does pertain to Elijah Griffin. Any chance he have him moving it up from December? Is he taking it the distance? Looks like the plan is to take it to the distance, but here's one thing I've learned about Georgia. If they really, really want you, if you're really top target, it can always be moved up. It can always happen a little sooner.
Well, what happens is you start focusing on your senior season and you get done dealing with it. You just say, I've had enough. I'm gonna commit at some point. So some of these kids are gonna take it the distance, but it wouldn't surprise me if he just says, hey, I've seen enough. I've been on these visits. I'm gonna commit to a school. So it's one of those deals. If Elijah Griffin goes into December, he's gonna do a lot of interviews. He's gonna have a lot of people just practices. So we'll see. Got a lot of questions about Travis Smith Jr.
I see that. Yeah.
And let me say this: known Travis a while now. Spent some time with he and his mother at the Nashville On-3 Elite. Awesome family. Here's what I'll say, including to Georgia. Don't get a visit high confused with a decision. And here was the deal with Travis Smith. He told us straight up he was going to take his visits all the way through, and he's going to do that. And he's going to take his officials, and I think he's got a July decision date set, I believe. So one of those deals there is every week these kids are taking visits. Every week it's a good visit. Those visits don't suck. You know what I mean? So just see where they are. Alabama certainly has a great OV weekend. Georgia has a great OV weekend. Tennessee had a ton of people up there this weekend. So let's let things settle for a couple of days, see where they are. More importantly, see where things are in July. And I say that with Georgia visits too now. Let a couple of days settle for these things. The old visit high on a young man, you see sometimes they do it. Sometimes they see it enough. You look at Zayden Walker. He saw enough. He committed to Georgia a couple of days later. He was done, or he went public. You know what I mean? So let's be cautious of jumping to reaction on different things, because these kids come off these visits, they have a good time, they say the right things, and you just want to see where they are a week, 2, 3 into July. There's no shortage going on. There is a ton of July decisions already scheduled, and there will be even more. What we say, June visits lead to July decisions. That's been the case last year, and that's certainly going to be the case this year.
Rusty, June, man, it seems like a week or two ago we were talking about when June gets here, it's going to get wild. Well, it got wild, and it has got wild in a hurry, and it's almost past us, man. Like we got one more, what is it, one more big weekend of official visits, and then we go dark for a month?
So they go, let me go right here. They go, so the 23rd, which is this weekend, Sunday, you start the dead period, which will be Monday, the 24th. The dead period, which means you can still have contact with each player. They still call you, can still call them. They cannot be in front of you. They cannot be on campus, anything like that. So they are dead period from June 24th until, I believe, the 29th of July, which gives these players and coaches about a month, which everybody deserves that. But remember that last week, which is absolutely stupid. One of the damn dumbest things the NCAA does is let the last week of July be open. I mean, the kids are done recruiting. Kirby Smart, all these coaches are getting ready for fall camp. And then you have to fight one more week to get these kids on campus. And then you go dark in August. It's completely dead, which it should be. I think if let me give you one little thing. If I'm the NCAA, this is what I do. It's dead from June 24th until the end of July. And then in August, you can be on campus on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and you go watch a team scrimmage. That doesn't mess with your high school week. That doesn't mess with you preparation for your high school football team. That doesn't mess with anything. If you want to go on campus and you don't watch Florida scrimmage, fall camp, if you want to go watch Georgia scrimmage, fall camp as a recruit, you should be able to do that. And you don't want the overnight deal, just say, listen, you can be on there from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and give you 2 Saturdays. You can do that in August. That would be great, in my opinion, to get that value. But August is dead, and July we got one more week, basically, and then we shut down for a while with recruiting. But it doesn't mean the news is going to stop. The visit's going to stop. Let me give you an example. Last week, you were on vacation. If I'm reading this right, last week, on Tuesday, Georgia had 22 teams, 7-on-7. That is all day long, as you know, 7-on-7. And they had lineman camp half the day. Wednesday, they had 31 teams, which is all day long for sure. In the morning, they have lineman camp. Thursday, they had, I think, 27 teams. These are all new teams every day. And they had lineman camp that morning. You get done Thursday about 5 o'clock. You have a meeting about 1 in the office, and then you get ready for 17 official visitors for the entire weekend. And you know why college coaches have their eye on NFL? Look at a week like that, and do that 4 weeks in a row. Do that,
and that hasn't changed a ton over. I mean, it has. I mean, it used to not be summer, official visits and everything like that, but I mean, that grind, that 7-on-7 camp grind has been there for. And brother, let me tell you, as somebody that's not even, I'm working, right? When we used to work them, we were working. And we're having a lot of conversations, and you're drinking water because your mouth's getting dry. You're talking to as many people as you can talk to.
Yeah,
dude, that's a beast. That is an absolute beast.
3 days in a row. It got hot one day. They had two teams. I mean, it happens everywhere. I think they had two teams with a all-out brawl on each other. Kids are hot, and Carrollton came over. Juju Lewis and that team. They came over Thursday. Ran through a deep bracket. Lowndes, Carrollton, Grayson, all those teams were there. So, just a lot of competition, a lot of talent. Listen, if you're going to coach college football, that's what you do. But they have one more week into this, and we're going to have a lot of decisions June, July. Very important decisions across the country. Elite 11 this week. Interested in Ryan Montgomery and how everyone does this week in Elite 11. This 2025 class, very interested. I think 17 or 18 quarterbacks there this week. It'll be good to see that.
Rusty, I just got to ask this question, man, because it just made me think about it. 2013, 2014, 2015. How many times you slide behind that bench inside of Sanford Stadium on that where the water cups were and grab you, just pick them up like that, go jump into a corner and just throw them down the hatch?
Back then, I was young and dumb, so I would go out with high school coaches the night before, and the last thing you need to be doing is hydrating on a night before a big camp. You know what I mean? And it didn't take me long to figure that.
You actually need to be hydrating, but real hydrating.
Yeah, not barley and salt. Those type of things. So back in the day, it was good. I remember standing at midfield. I guess it was Kirby Smart's first year. Yeah. He let us in the first year. And Houston County was playing. Jake Fromm had just committed to Georgia. And I remember standing there with Jacob Eason, and he was watching Jake Fromm play. And those two were friends. They were talking in between every rep, and Jacob Eason was high-fiving him. And it was kind of ironic, those two kids, how the path unfolded for both of them. But I remember standing there at midfield in Sanford Stadium. Jacob Eason was just at Georgia. He'd been there a couple of months. And Jake Fromm was committed to Georgia at that time. So, there's some crazy, crazy days over there back in the day.
Yeah, that only Kirby one, I believe, was pretty much that was all done out at the intramural fields. That the 1 year that we were let in there, that was all done out there.
Oh, they let the finals go to the Final Four. Remember, they took the Final Four teams to Sanford Stadium.
Yeah.
And what was weird, they let you so you could stay until the Final Four teams. Once the final two teams started, all media had to leave because they didn't want you interviewing players after the game. So we went and watched a few games that day, watched some teams play. It was interesting. Tomahawk Dog. Jacob Eason's still in the league. I still talk to Tony, his dad. Matter of fact, I swapped a message with him Father's Day. Jacob Eason has bounced around from team to team. I think right now he is currently signed with the Green Bay Packers. And Jacob has quietly carved out 3 or 4 years of the NFL at different times. He picks up with a team and does his thing. So one of my favorite kids I ever covered. And I tell you this, didn't work out for him here. But you want to talk about somebody that loved the state of Georgia, who fell in love with this part of the country, and he will always be someone that Georgia fans should cheer for, because how he handled that season with Jake Fromm and walking off the field in that national championship game, and he waited to walk off with Jake Fromm, says a freaking ton about Jacob Eason, what type of kid he is.
Yeah, he handled that great, man. I think knowing what we know now about how things happen with transfers and things, that should be appreciated. We appreciate our man Andy Ludicky over at My Perfect Franchise. Are you a displaced corporate executive, or do you want to put your career in your own hands? You could also be an experienced entrepreneur and you're just trying to do something different. You're trying to get a few more lines in the water. Well, Andy Ludicky at myperfectfranchise.net can help. Andy's a huge college sports fan and a franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using his expertise, he helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. You need to call Andy, put your life and career in your own hands, and best of all, his services are 100% free to you. You've got nothing to lose, not one thing. So go find your perfect franchise and your perfect opportunity at myperfectfranchise.net. And again, man, Andy has been with us for a while. He believes in us. We believe in him. And we're excited to share that opportunity with you guys every chance we get. Rusty, man, here's something that just kind of, I'm on vacation, right? Drinking just tons of water, electrolytes. That's what I'm all about. Just a lot of water, a lot of electrolytes, a lot of sunscreen,
a lot of liquid.
Yeah, a lot of liquid, a lot of sunscreen, a lot of lime. But no, I'm just sitting there thinking, and something just kind of hit me that we just, it hit me that we hadn't talked about it. I don't want to say that I hadn't talked about it, but we haven't really gotten in depth. So last off season, and listen, I'm not doing this to call out anybody or any, I'm not one of these like, well, the media just don't, I'm not doing that because I'm part of the media. But man, it seemed like for 2 straight off seasons with Alabama losing to Georgia in the national championship game, and then Alabama not making it last year, that there was this big talk of a revenge tour. Like, man, Alabama's going to be hungry. Alabama's going to absolutely be hungry. Watch out. Alabama's about to mow everybody down. This is going to be the win behind them. And honestly, I believe that too. I'm not saying that it's like this foreign concept. And why aren't you talking about Georgia if you're going to do that? Why are we not hearing about this, Rusty? I haven't heard one utterance of it from a national level. And I find it a little bit odd. Is it because I don't know. I mean, I thought about the idea that, all right, well, they go out and beat Florida State 56-3 or whatever, 63-3 or whatever that thing was. 100% Florida State was never going to win that game. Georgia could have went out there and played poorly and beat Florida State that day, but it's pretty clear that Georgia had it together. Georgia was ready to play football. I just don't understand how you can look at that, the breaking of a 29-game winning streak, the loss of a chance at making history with the three-peat. And it just doesn't really seem like there's much talk of a hungry, angry Georgia football team.
Well, the different scenario, and you've never covered this, there's an expanded playoff.
Yeah, I guess so.
So there's not so much make or break on every single game. You can have a slip up or two if you're Georgia and still probably make that playoff. So that's not, I think that has a lot to do with those things. You can lose an SEC championship game and not get out, for a lot of reasons now. So I think there's a lot of different scenarios there. I think that as we move into another 3-4 weeks from now is SEC Media Day, which is crazy. A month from now starts. The Georgia talk will be there nationwide, but I think right now with the playoff expansion, I don't know that there's any quote unquote news about Georgia. I think everybody anticipates Georgia being there. I don't think there's a pressure on Georgia to go undefeated again. I think everybody knows their schedule's tougher. I think Georgia can get there as far as their plans and their goals. But they got a lot in front of them this time. But they also have the value of a playoff, and that's the first time I've ever covered that. And we'll talk more about that. But I think that's Jake to answer that shortly. That's kind of I think where that's kind of losing its grip a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll pick up some, but I'm getting at there.
You brought me back in there at the end with the lose because I still feel like, man, it's just been a long time since Kirby's been able to say, hey, you weren't good enough. You did not do it. You just weren't good enough. I mean, both of those.
He'll come up with something.
Oh yeah. I'm excited for SEC Media Days because in that way, because I want to see what does Kirby come up with this time? Where does it come from? And, for once he doesn't have to get Nolan Smith to talk about everybody says we're going to go 8-4. It's like, it's there. It doesn't have to be manufactured. And I don't know, man, I'm really more so than I'm fascinated with the lack of talk about it. I'm fascinated to see how Georgia responds to it, because I remember you didn't have to coax it out of them. You didn't have to really ask them about it at the Orange Bowl press conference. I remember talking to Malachi Starks. I remember talking to Michael Williams Jalen Walker, Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint. I mean, every lad, it was like they had a bad taste in their mouth. Like they did not feel good about the way. And I always said it was going to happen like this, right? When Georgia lost to Alabama, I always knew that when Georgia's win streak was snapped, it was going to be because they didn't play very good football. Because Georgia's roster is so good and so complete, and they've built it up to this point. It's just really like a lot like Alabama. You're not going to go out there and play a team playing their A game and playing really good football and just outclass them. I didn't think anybody was ever going to just outclass Georgia when it was playing well. So I always knew it was going to be a situation where Georgia lost when they weren't playing their best football, and they knew that. And they took that kind of personally, and I think that's really why – it's not why they beat Florida State. Again, Georgia wins that game against that Florida State roster 100 times out of 100. But I do think it's why it jumped all over them and was able to sit starters the entire second half and make them completely helpless because Georgia was ready to play football. And I just, man, playoff or not, I'm excited to see how that mentality carries over into the coming season because it's been a while since Kirby's been able to coach a hungry, nasty, we got to have this. We feel we didn't get where we wanted to get last year. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Interested in their off season. Last year, we learned about the rugby team. They spent the entire off season talking about that and meeting about the rugby team, continual excellence, those type of things. It will be interesting to see what the offseason message is, and Kirby usually lets everybody know that during the SEC championship, what kind of the theme is, better never rest, all that kind of stuff. So be interested to see. I think Kirby he always gives that message, what's kind of the theme for this team. But again, I don't know that anything should change. I mean, it's the goal of Georgia now is to play in the last game of the season, to win the SEC championship, to beat Georgia Tech, to win in-state rivalry, to handle your business. There's a path, but you can beat around the bush all you want. The goal at Georgia is to play in the last football game of the season in college football and see what happens then.
That's right. And to have more points on the scoreboard in that last football game of the season, it's become kind of the standard now. I mean, we've kind of seen it happen. I don't think folks were angry necessarily at the end of the season when Georgia, didn't play for and win the national championship after winning 2 straight, but it was a bummer for folks. I mean, it definitely was. And, the attention in December, as we saw from our website, quickly turned to the portal and recruiting. And it wasn't necessarily that way the previous 2 years when Georgia was making a run at the national championship, when Georgia was making a run at the playoff. And, but I'm also, again, you want to talk about just all the different things up in the air. And I know a lot of people are disenchanted with how college football is going with the transfer portal and the money and the free agency and basically all of that. But man, there's so much to be excited about too. Like, hey, how's this 12-team playoff going to work out? Is it going to be bananas like it could be, or is it going to be, I don't know. What's it going to be like having a college football game on a campus? I almost hope that Georgia can find some way to get in there as that seed, because I would love to cover a college football. I would love to cover one in Sanford Stadium.
No, you don't want to do that this year. I mean, it's an extra game. You want to do that one of those years where I just think you think Georgia's path and what they'll go through, you probably want that bye week. Eventually, you're going to cover a game in December in Sanford Stadium. There's no question. I just don't think you want it to be this year. I think this is the team that.
Well, you don't want it. You definitely don't want it to be this year right now, because you're sitting here thinking about Georgia's bringing back the quarterback. Like Georgia's bringing back the team that should be a top 4 seed. If I told you, hey, next year, 2025. Georgia's gonna host a college football playoff game at Sanford Stadium. You take it running. You take it absolutely running, because there's going to be a transition at quarterback.
Think about this: it's like somebody could play in Ann Arbor in December, like late December.
Oh,
somebody could play at Penn State in late December. So what if Nebraska made it one year? Like somebody's going to play in Lincoln in late December. Like that's frosty. You know what I mean? The last games you play at those places are usually Thanksgiving weekend, because championships are always indoors, and then you have a bowl game somewhere warm most of the time. But you go another month in Ann Arbor, another month in Penn State, temperature's a lot different. It could be very. Could you imagine LSU at Penn State in late December? I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. What about Florida at Michigan one year? You know what I mean? In late December, like it is going to happen.
Tell you what, man, I would love to go see. I would love to go to those places and cover games. But only good thing about going to Happy Valley in December is maybe getting to have a beer with Sean Fitz over at our Penn State side, or going to Lincoln and seeing Sean Callahan over at Husker Online or something, because I can't wear shorts out there, Rusty. They won't let me.
Now you'd be in trouble then.
All right, man. Well, listen, we'll be back with you on Wednesday to talk about whatever happens between now and then, because something's going to happen. That's just the way it happens this time of year. And listen, Rusty made a point a while ago that I think everybody needs to understand. July may be a dead period. Most of July, late June through late July, may be a dead period, but the news ain't stopping. I mean, like Rusty said, last year it was insane. It was crazy. It has the potential to be the same thing there. So come on over to DawgsHQ. You see that promo code at the bottom of your screen, UGA1, and get 2 months for $1. That's 50 cents a month. I mean, you can't even buy anything out of a vending machine for 50 cents anymore. So give it a shot. We'd love to have you. We'd absolutely love to have you. We're growing like crazy, and we want you to be a part of it. But until Wednesday, I'm Jake. He's Rusty. We're DawgsHQ, and y'all take it easy.